Good afternoon. I would like to start by saying thank you to the CARE and the organizer of the conference for giving me the opportunity to participate in this conference. Disabled people constitute 15% of the population worldwide, and they are the poorest and most marginalized group in the world. Since late 1990s, there have been an increase in mainstreaming disability in the development agenda. Article 32 of the UN Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities stresses Article 32 of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities stresses each state party and international development cooperation to ensure that all development programs to be inclusive and accessible to disabled people. Despite this, disabled people have been failed by the development programs, including the Millennium Development Goals. This paper will explore the national and international policies adopted by Sudan to include disabled people in sustainable development programs. It also examines their implementation and evaluate the impact on disabled people welfare. Since the early 80s, in response to the recommendation of the International Year of Disabled Person in 1982, Sudan has been promoting an inclusive society built on equal opportunities for disabled people. At national level, in 1991, Sudan issued the Republican Decree 339 for education and development programs. In 1984, Sudan issued the Disability Act, which is the main act like National Act for Disabled People. In 2001, a decree for free education for all students and at all education level. Article 24.667 of the Public Service Act states that 55% of the disabled people have the right to work. It means anywhere in the ministry or whatever, 5% of the people employed, they have the right to work, to be disabled people. In 2009, Disability Act, which was issued in 1984, has been updated and amended to 2009 Act. At international level, in 1993, Sudan adopted the UN Standard Rule on Equalization of Opportunity for Persons with Disability. Sudan also was among the countries to sign the UN Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disability on its opening day. And Sudan regularly attend all conferences related to disabled people and adopt their initiatives. In a survey conducted in 2003 by Al-Tayyib and Khalifa on 1,130 individuals with disability from 60 states, 68% of them were men. According to that survey, 66 of the sample have education level below secondary. 66 of the sample did not receive any training. Training MEKEI received are concentrated in Khartoum and Gezira, which are the main state in Sudan. Technical training received only by 9% and majority males. This diagram shows the education according to the age, which is positive because when we come to the young generation, we can see the level of education is getting higher, but it's still far. This is education by agenda, and men are dominant, but only in the university. For some reason, or as usual, females have more chance to get to the university. This is about the training received. Technical training is only 9%. and also academic training is low. The survey indicates that 5% of the sample is unemployed. The overall income of disabled people is low, which is below 500 Sudanese pound, which is equivalent to £5 sterling approximately. Still 24% of those, they don't have regular income like every month. This is the occupation according to the kind of disability. The health services is not better, like literature review indicates that disabled people in Sudan do not receive the health care needed and specialized follow-up. There are other things like, which is not included in this study, like leisure activities and sport, which is getting more importantly to integrate disabled people and rehabilitation. But in Sudan, I think it's still. This is assistive devices, and mainly the working aids, which is accessible to disabled people in Sudan. Al-Tayyib and Khalifa argue about the National Act, which is 2009 Act. They say that overall the document is generalized in nature, addressing various issues and core concepts, however, with limited focus on action areas or monitoring mechanism. Furthermore, the document does not distinguish between the various type, target, and needs of the disabled population, and use the term disabled as a one unit, like don't distinguish between type of disabilities. From the above, it is clear that Sudan exerted effort in enacting regulations and adopting policies needed to include disabled people in the development programs, but disabled people are still deprived of their right and left behind. There's exceptional cases, like today I was talking to the governor of the Red Sea, and I knew from him, like he is personally involved in development program for disabled people in the Red Sea, but this is not the common case anyway. To ensure inclusive disability in development programs, it is essential disabled people organization, government, bilateral and multilateral development agencies, private sector, and civil society to work in a close collaboration and partnership in order to create a holistic approach to achieve the basic needs for human development, which includes accessibility, information to make policies and rights of disabled people available and accessible to them and their family, and to make sure they know and aware about this information. Accessible environment. Accessible environment, like building public utilities and transport, should meet the needs and capacity of disabled people. In Sudan, the National Council for Disabled People, which is the main building for the disabled people in Sudan, is not accessible. It's 3-floor building, but there is no lift. So only the ground floor, which is accessible. Also, Sudan witnessing a very high poverty development, so they should now be careful that this building to be accessible for disabled people in the future. Number 2, availability of data and statistics on disability. Accurate and reliable disability knowledge base is crucial to establish effective formulation and implementation of inclusive policies and programs. Capacity building. Capacity building, we know how it's important for disabled people to ensure their participation in the development program. Public awareness is necessary to highlight the right of disabled people. Also, we need again cultural attitude. Like in Sudan, we have like our attitude and tradition, and they sometimes, or in most times, they are negative toward disabled people. So we need to gain our culture and attitudes. Involvement of the private sector. Also, the private sector has to be involved. We have 2 examples for DAL group and telecommunication called ZAN. Sorry, I guess I did write the word here, but they have contributed a lot to disabled people. According to 1993 census, the population of disabled people in Sudan is 1.6, and in 2008 census is 5%, while according to the UN estimation, disabled people in the developing countries reach 15%. In some countries more. If we take in consideration the poverty in Sudan and the war, like national conflicts or national civil war, we expect that the number of the population to reach at least 15%. However, inaccuracy of the statistic data can be attributed to the lack of awareness and the sensitivity to the term disability and the stigma associated with it. As other developing countries, census was affected by poor communication technology, lack of trained human resources, and the required facilities to conduct the survey. Disability in Sudan is a responsibility shared by the government, disabled people, their families, and the wider society. The government has to be fair to enforce policies by applying legislation and punishment. More importantly, disabled people and their family, they have to be aware of their right and to stand for it. Also, disabled people organizations have to monitor and follow up the implementation of the policies. To follow up the disabled experience in the West, disabled people in the West, they say they haven't reached or they haven't got their right only when they work for themselves and stand for their right. To stand for their right, disabled people have to be empowered and know their right. And this is the real channel for the Sudanese British Society of Disabled People. The main objective of the Sudanese Society of Disabled People is to raise the awareness of disabled people with their rights. And also, it will aim to raise the public awareness of disability issues. This will be done by, of course, there are so many other things, but the main thing is to establish Disability Study Center. Among its duties, the center will encourage and facilitate the education of disabled people, raise the public awareness of disability issues. Thank you.